if you want to just give us a little bit of time here today and brief
Yeah.
introduction of yourself, and then maybe the beef initiative.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start. It's just discovery. You know, Texas Slim, of course. I come from West Texas. Grew up around agriculture and ranching and all that kind of really good small town Texas stuff. But I, I basically moved to Austin, fled the small town when I was like 19. So most of my adult life was spent in Austin, and that was my home base. And so I traveled a lot. I got into big tech. I became a research analysis person, and so developed a very deep talent set and skill set that I basically leveraged into food intelligence in the last 3 years. And so, with my agriculture and ranching background, I was able to develop a kind of an understanding of where we are in the food supply systems. And so, what I knew that we had to do, especially in the Bitcoin space, is we had to find a way and a new protocol that people thought about what nutrition was, and we had to decentralize our food systems. And we've all been trying to do that for years and years, and that's basically what we used to be, is a decentralized food system. That's how I was raised. That's how my grandparents raised me. And there's a treasure chest of wisdom and knowledge and intelligence based on how they used to trade food and how they used to raise food and grow food and steward the land and the animals. And so that's when the Beef Initiative came about. And I knew that I had to start in the Bitcoin space because we're based on truth and honesty and integrity, and that's what we have to be, because you have to be extremely transparent, and that's how we should be with our food systems and with our money. And so it's been growing ever since I started writing about it, and then here we are. And one thing that I saw in the Bitcoin space is they don't know really truly, we don't know how to sell Bitcoin, damn it. And we don't do a very good job of it, and it's because it's during innovation times that all this is kind of learned. And what you have to do is you have to look at behavioral analysis. You have to look how things are sold in the fiat world and how you basically create value. And so the Beef Initiative is basically based on integrity and honesty, clear communications, and relationship building. And with a rancher, we don't go up to a rancher and say, hey, you accept Bitcoin? You just something you do not do. And that's something that people that maybe have tried, they don't know how to introduce it. And so I've developed a protocol that we have a tons of proof of work. The ranchers respond to it, and it's because it's based on that integrity and that honesty and education. And so I've been basically some meetups across the country. I've been developing a protocol that allows, people, this is how you go about this. It's not like you would think. We don't want to come off as used car salesmen. We don't want to shill things. What we want to do is build a relationship based on trust and honesty and education. And the best way to find out, or the best way to orange pill or educate a rancher about Bitcoin, is allow him to educate you first on what he does, why he does it, and how he does it. And if you can find a rancher that wants to talk about that and really wants to tell you, then you can start building that relationship, and then you can ask them to feed you, because you would like to have market access to what they do, their lifestyle, the food, everything that they do. And once you have these relationships built on these with these communications, these conversations, Bitcoin always comes up in the conversation at the perfect time that it needs to. And you don't have to push it. It automatically happens. It's something that is natural, because you find out what their pain points are. You find out what they're suffering through, that nobody will listen to them, because America is not listening to the farmer and the rancher. And if the Bitcoin shows the agricultural world in the United States and across the world that we want to listen to them, then we'll talk about Bitcoin. So
I love it.
that's kind of the gist of it. That's the short. And there's different ways, different, knowing the different ranchers, what they do with their different protocols, if they're cow calf operators, or they go through the full cycle of calving to yearlings to weaning to all the way to processing. So there's a lot of education that the Bitcoiners need in balance, as much as the ranchers need Bitcoin education. And you find out that a trustful relationship is just flows. Most of my conversations with ranchers are just that simple. They just flow. It's not a sales pitch. It's just you two just bullshitting, telling stories and talking about things. And that's where the conversations end up to, and they end up being educational, both sides of the coin.
I love it. Yeah, I really love many aspects of what you just said, but having been in sales for 20 years,
Uh-huh.
building a relationship is what it's all about, you know. And if you're selling something that you believe in, you know, believe will change humanity, will change the beef industry, will change everyone, and is the future, it's not a sell. It is the
Yeah.
relationship. You know, it's about the love, and people see right through you. You know, if they think
Oh
you're trying to
yeah.
sell them something, and I'm super glad we talked to you before we go out and shake hands, because we need to know all these things, you know. And
Yeah.
you guys are the boots on the ground, literally, and you are the vanguards. So we're not going to go out here and try to jam orange pills down people's throats. We're going to go out here and build relationships, and we're going to go, you know what? We care. We have zero ulterior motives. We just care. We care about the future of the country. We care about humanity. We care about, you know, our children. So that's all we want to do. And oh, hey, by the way, we want some of your good grass-fed beef. That's not, you know, some thing that's been out at a feedlot. And hey, here's these other guys that are using this program right now. And guess what? Some of them have even volunteered to say, hey, if you want us to talk to any of these ranchers, because I'm sure there are a lot. I mean, if we do hit the point where they're, you know, talking Bitcoin, coming from their peers is probably even a better place, because they're like, oh wow, these guys are actually doing this. They're actually, you know,
Yeah.
transacting value with this Bitcoin stuff, and they've been doing it. So it's not something that we're trying to, you know, go out and tell them what to do or how to do it. It's like, no, this is going on. We're just out here, you know, shaking your hand, and we want a quarter of a beef in the freezer, you know.
All we're doing to being is a bridge, because I've got ranchers that are now talking to each other that would have never talked to each other, and it's because of
Wow,
the beef initiative.
I love it.
And they come out and tell me that there's no way in hell I'd have come across this guy or this information,
Mm.
especially in the regenerative world. And so you get these guys are talking with each other, boy, they won't shut up.
I love it.
Yeah.
They're always talking to each other. That's their intelligence. Once again, that's how I was raised. That's that decentralized peer-to-peer two-party line system type of communications. And
Mhm.
a lot of people don't realize that this stuff has been going on for 150 years. And basically, the general public just don't know about it. They're better decentralized than we ever could hope for at this period of time.
Yeah.
They're going to teach us things. And I always tell everybody, I was like, you watch, there's going to be a rancher here very soon that's going to innovate in Bitcoin more than anybody even can dream of right now.
Right.
And that will happen. It's just, it's not going to be advertised, man.
Yep.
It's just not out there in the open. You know, you look at the professional rodeo circuit. Okay, you look at the county rodeo circuit that goes across this nation. Nobody knows a damn thing about it, but I guarantee you it's big and it's powerful, and they know a lot of people. And the reason nobody knows about them is because people don't pay attention, but they don't really advertise themselves.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what Bitcoiners are trying to be. Well, hell, these guys are already doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Hey, I got 14 things going through my mind now because you've just triggered so many things. Because I just thought
Right.
of a rodeo buddy that I have that I want to go, you know, rekindle my relationship with him, because I actually went to college with him. His name is Carlos Zapata. He's actually kind of a bit of a celebrity here. He does
Is he?
yeah, he did a documentary called The Red, White, and Blueprint, which was we're in California, and it was kind of a little mini revolution at a county level where we ousted some ultra liberal politicians locally, and he was instrumental behind it all, because he just stood up and he'd had enough, and he said, no, not here. You know, we're the vast majority of people in this area are good old boys. They are spit in your palm, shake my hand, that's all we need. We don't need a contract. Your word is your bond. You know,
Yep.
it's integrity, it's personal responsibility, it's accountability, and I think that a Bitcoin layer brings all that back. But anyway,
yeah, it does.
I'm going off
No,
on a
that's
tangent. I wanted to
no, that's
introduce
a good.
Jed.
That's not a tangent. That's called strategy.
Hell
That's
yeah,
not a
man.
tangent.
You're doing God's work, Slim, man. I don't know how you do it. You drive so many miles, but you got a million people behind you just cheering you on, and keep up God's work, buddy. I want to introduce Jed too. Jed's sitting here. Jed Powers is the man behind our local Reading Bitcoin Center.
Michael told me about you guys, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, Jed.
Just trying to start this grassroots thing, right? Kind of like what you're doing. You're out there building community. You are doing proof of work. What you're building is proof of the work that you put in. So yeah, we really appreciate the things that you are doing. And we're just going to try to model some of that up here. So
yeah, man, I really do appreciate that. People don't know how to say thank you in the right way. I just want you to know thank you, because I don't pay attention. I really don't. I can't. So I just kind of plug forward. And we have to. This is, this comes from ranchers too. It's just not me, trying to get attention. It has nothing to do with that. But, I talked to a lot of them ranchers back in October, November last year, and they said, hey, this has to happen in 2022. This is it.
Hell yeah.
And they're right. And for good reasons and bad reasons. This opportunity that we have in the next 18 months is never going to happen again in our lifetimes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just trying to take it back to a place where it used to be, right? Like you're saying, they've been raising cattle there for 150 years and feeding the community.
Yeah.
We just need to get back to that. We need to start going to the farmers, the ranchers, like you're saying, shake their hand and say, hey, what do you got going on over here? How do you raise your cows? How do you raise your vegetables?
Yeah, 100%, man. And I told this from the beginning, and people are yearning for better days. They're yearning for that happiness and that peace of mind. Well, I guarantee you, if they want to get happy again and they want to truly feel a part of something, this is a lifestyle, and it's an international lifestyle that people are yearning for. They just don't freaking know it.
Yep.
And that's just wisdom there. And because I've driven across this country, man, that's 14,000 miles since June, I believe. And that's not interstate shit, man. That's back roads. And there's so much opportunity in this world that nobody's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
All they see is that damn news cycle. They don't realize that there's so much that can be reinvented really fast. And we're in a perfect opportunity to expose that. So like I said, this is kind of a lifestyle that we need to really start engineering for people. And it covers a lot of things. It does cover the rodeo. It does cover the heritage woman. It covers, that having that access to that market access to a life that everybody thinks is already lost, but it's not.
Right. Yeah. And clean food, clean 100%. Relationships.
Yeah. What it is what I'm going to call it in November. I'm going to have a big announcement in November. I'll let you guys know. It's like what we're doing is we've done a vertical integration into our food, and we've done it. We have proof of work. We're scaling big time within the beef initiative as far as being able to sell beef. Well, that vertical integration from the soil to the grass to the cow to the producer to the processor to the supplier to the market access to your fork, we now have it. It's decentralized on the money side and on as far as being separated from the centralized apparatus. That same vertical integration is the same vertical integration back into human health, and people are starting to figure that out. And so we're going to kick off the Great American Health Initiative, and it's going to be led by the Great American Rancher, and that happens in November. And so we'll announce that, and basically all the shit that the ranchers have to go through and saying that they're evil and that they're doing things wrong and beef is bad for you. Well, now they're leading the Great American Health Initiative. And then that's when I'm going to go international with this and get everybody paying attention. I'm going to go to Australia in January, trying to get to the Netherlands. And so 2023 will be a global event. That's what we're shooting for.
Nice. Oh, that's great. Yeah, there's a war going on against the ranchers, isn't there?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a global industrial food shift going on, and people don't realize that it's happening, but it's already played out. People
Mhm.
just don't know it yet. I don't know how bad it'll be in the United States, but there's going to be food supply shortages, and
Yeah.
it's not because we don't have food. It's because of it's manipulated, and it's
Yep.
being done in certain reasons for certain reasons, and they're basically just like I talk about in the 70s. They introduced fake commodities into our food systems.
Mhm.
And those fake commodities have gotten us where we're metabolically bankrupt right now.
Yep.
And you can look at it, there's no lie. This is, I mean, it's factual. And what they're doing right now is they're taking the animal protein out of the consumption models of most Americans. And it's not because they're going to get rid of the cow. They're not getting rid of beef. They're not going to give you, the American citizen, access to it anymore. Our beef is going to be shipped overseas, and you're going to get this bullshit that they're pushing. And it's not that you're going to eat fake meat steaks and 3D printed steaks or burgers. No, they're going to make it to where it's a fake commodity that they injected into your food system, just like they already inject everything else right now. You won't even be knowing that you're eating it.
Mhm.
And we don't know that we eat it right now because we eat like shit.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
You will eat
So,
bug
yeah.
dust and not even know it because it'll be ground
Right.
up into your
Pretty much.
Cheerios. It'll take the
Yeah.
place of some other ingredient
Yes.
that used to be there, and it'll be, you know, some strange name. I've heard rumors, and I just will stick with rumors, but I've seen pictures even where a product will go off the shelves for a little while mysteriously, having nothing to do with this current supply chain issues, but then will come back on the shelves, and a customer who was like, hey, I used to eat this stuff, they go and they look at the ingredients from the old package and notice some changes already in some of the products, saying like, you know, some random substance that wasn't a part of the ingredients is now there. So that's something I'm going to try to keep my eye on too,
Well,
and see if that is if
well,
it's
let me
already
tell you,
happening. And
yeah, it's already happened. I'll tell you a story.
wow.
October of 2021, you can Google this, and you can Google it as the words I say. FDA GRAS rule, GRAS, and lawsuit. And in October 21, FDA won a lawsuit where they can now, this year alone, will be injecting over 2,000 chemicals into your food supply system, and they don't have to tell you what it is.
Oh
Mm.
man.
Make
And they
us
say
more
it's,
unhealthy.
Yeah.
well, of course, that's I've been telling everybody this for 3 years, and finally people are starting to listen. But
Yep.
what it is, it's a generally recognized as safe rule, and they can inject all kinds of new nanoparticle technologies, all kinds of shit. And so they got something up their sleeve, and it's hard to really track it. But if you notice, the labeling laws now do not say GMO anymore; they say bioengineered.
Oh.
And it's the bar, go to the grocery store and look at it, and you'll find
Yeah.
it pretty quick. And what you have to do is you scan that barcode, and you have to look at it. Won't tell you what it is on the package. You have to scan it. And who the hell's going to
Yeah.
scan a
Right.
barcode code on their pasta?
Yeah.
And so it takes you into, it tells you what bioengineering is. We're in a new level of food production that we've never seen before.
Yeah. And changing of definitions.
Yeah,
Yep.
of course. Yeah.
You know, like yeah, exactly. It's no good.
No, and you know, now we're going to beyond organic, whatever the hell that means. And so, you know, they've manipulated, and there's so many loopholes that they can get around with organic. And you know, I'm not saying it's all good, but it's all just not the truth. And
No.
I'm not saying it's all bad, but
Right.
what it is, it's somewhat nefarious. Because what they know is that they have to take the animal and they have to take the soil out of your food consumption. And they have to turn it over, and they have to put it into the labs. And that's why you'll have all this hydroponic warehouse growing stuff. And that you look at anybody that says food science when they're talking about food, and you say science in the same term, you don't know what the hell food is. It's biology.
Right.
It's not
Right.
science.
Yep.
And they're going to go deep with science, and then of course they're going to go deep with the climate change. So we've got to get the word out, and you know, it's about clean, pure food, and it's not just about beef, and it's just not about carnivore. It's about clean food.
Right.
So
yeah, it's crazy because I mean, personally, I try to use my brain. I try to think for myself.
Sure.
I try to use common sense, and it's almost like that masses of people are getting stripped of, you know, the simplest reason and common sense, where it's like, hey, guess what? dipshit, if you try an experiment, eat right for X period of time, see how you feel. Like when you eat right, you have less inflammation. You have, you're going to be not as depressed. You're going to be, I mean, back when science was science and we did research that actually meant something. I have a degree in psychology, studied psychology many years ago. And back then, and God only knows now because science is a different meaning.
It's changed.
Yeah, back then, diet and exercise did more for you than any pill in fighting anxiety and depression and almost anything like that. But that was science, like any study they did. And it's like, guys, do it for yourself. If you don't believe the science, go try this. Eat really good, eat clean, like you said, and guess what? You're gonna feel better. It blows my mind that a bunch of people in our society seem to have lost their ability to think for themselves and to use common sense and logic.
Well, it's because they've engineered the food. I mean, people don't understand the type of consolidations of food corporations that has happened since 1995, and the last one was in 2017, 2018, and at that same time, Bayer and Monsanto, and so the chemical corporations merged, and then the food corporations merged, and they got their marching orders at that time. But the food has changed, and what it is, you brought up, even intentionally good people that are trying. Well, you take logic out of food and you take logic out of what nutrition is, then you can basically manipulate any type of messaging, any type of consumption model that you want. And that's what they've been doing. And the reason they're doing it is because, one, well, the soil has no value. Two, the money has no value. And so therefore your food is just as debased as both of those.
Yeah, for sure.
And people can't wrap their mind around that. That takes some really critical thinking to understand it, and a loss of cognitive dissonance, of course. But then if you are consuming this food and it is industrial, sludge, which it is, then you're going to be nutritionally starved in a way that you don't understand.
Yeah, for sure.
And your brains are inflamed. This is from doctors. It's not me saying this. People coming in and all they see mostly is anxiety, and people's brains are inflamed. And that's just, it's happening. And kids are coming in with, bad hormones or zero hormones. And this is going on. This is going to happen. It has already been happening, and it's where we are.
It's a sad state of affairs. Hey, Slim. Hey, man, we know you're pulled over beside the road on a West Texas highway somewhere. And we appreciate the time, and we want to do this again if you don't mind.
Sure.
We have another pleb that wants to join in. We probably want to ask some specific questions because we actually have phone calls in right now to some local ranchers, and we have an invite to go out to one already, and then there's a couple others we're going to hit up. But anyway, we want to touch base with you again. But Jed's got to go down because he's pretty much the mastermind behind our local Bitcoin meetup, which is happening in 8 minutes, and he's got a scamper down there a couple blocks away. So we appreciate your time and look forward to doing a follow-up with Alan on board as well. So
yeah, just let me know and I'll be on time, and I'll be in a better service area. So
we appreciate it. No, we understand, man. Don't feel bad. We just appreciate talking to you and want to just get the word out, man. All right, take care.
Let's do it. All right, guys, have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Keep up the good work.
All right.